Typically, the Boundary Corner podcast likes to stick to sports. It's what we know and what we love. But this issue isn't political in nature. It's a matter of the basic human right to life.
If you're saying it's horrible an innocent black man was killed, but destroying property has to stop, listen to that phrase and then say these words. It's horrible that property is being destroyed, but killing innocent black men and women has to stop.
We stand in solidarity with the black community and wanting to put an end to systemic racism in the United States. If you want to do more, please consider a donation to an organization such as Equal Justice Initiative that's working hard every day in this fight. Please join me in observing a 9-second moment of silence in the memory of George Floyd.
Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. My name is Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegel. How's it going, buddy?
Well, buddy, you tell me. You had the old college professor. Class ends at 8:30 on a Thursday night, and you're ready to go to the bar, and they're just keep on hanging out, keep on chatting.
Yeah, it was one of those where he probably overplanned what he thought he could get in a class, and then he kind of got stuck. And he's like, I got to get through this. We got a lab on Thursday, so here we are.
One of those awesome things where 15 years ago you would have been like itchy, like, dude, come on, I got to go out and have some fun. Now it's, hey, dude, come on, I got a podcast to record.
Exactly, man. I was sick this morning too. I'm already pulling a pretty long day as at work, coming off a little bit of a stomach bug this morning. So definitely would have liked it to wrap up sooner than later, but here we are, running a little bit late. But hey, you do what you got to do, right?
100%, man. You have a good weekend, dude?
It was pretty good, man. It was pretty good. We stuck around here, did a little this, a little that. Actually went over and hung out with the neighbors for a little while. On Sunday, they got one of the above ground pools put in their backyard, so had the kids in there enjoying that, and sipping a few cocktails, having some brisket. So it was a good time. What about you?
Very nice. Oh, this weekend. Oh, I worked my butt off this weekend. The father-in-law is he wants electricity in his shed, and so be it. He works out there. He made us a picnic table. Him and my wife worked on that, but he needed a trench dug. Lucky for me.
You got put on trench duty.
Ooh, yeah, trench duty. Lucky for me, his neighbor who's doing the electrical work was able to get a ditch witch, so the majority of it, they got cut with that. But the little crevices, about 1 o'clock, I'm cutting the grass Saturday, jamming to some music, having fun. Ring, ring. Says my father-in-law, hey, what's up? I need you. All right, I'll be right over. And then subsequent part of the day Saturday, part of the day Sunday, I'm digging trenches with a pickaxe, shovels, post hole digger. So needless to say, I got some good workouts in this weekend. I had some cocktails with the neighbors. I'm on the cul-de-sac, little Saturday night dinner club, and but just a nice normal weekend. I went to the liquor store, start reloading the liquor cabinet.
All right, stocking up.
Got to, man.
Rolling into summer, rolling into hopefully a college football season. Got to stock up, get everything back as it needs to be. So, somebody says they want a certain cocktail, you're ready to roll.
Absolutely, man. That's what it is. So, yeah, the thing with the COVID-19 crisis is I was starting to build the bar up back in February and March, and then when it came, I hadn't been to the liquor store, but things are changing every day for the better, thank goodness. And got there, got some gin, some rum, and some vodka. Got to go back and get definitely a few. Oh, and some ginger beer. Was making. By the way, got a new cocktail for you to try. The
right.
Southern Fried Moscow Mule. Replace your lime juice with limeade. Very
Okay.
good cocktail.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
That sounds
Well,
like it's hidden.
yes, sir, it was. Well, let's get to it, man. In the last 11 days since Sunday, the Hokies have had 3 football commitments. So, man, let's get into there first before we get into a few other things. Let's start with the first one, which was the Friday that we dropped our podcast. We knew it was coming with Jalen, but, we just, you got deadlines. You got to keep a schedule going. So we missed it. But
we missed it, but we knew it was coming down the pike, and we were, about as confident as one can be heading into that recording session. But you never want to put something, the cart ahead of the horse, as it is. So we kept that out last time, and here we are. Now we get to celebrate this go round. So
we do.
I'll say it, man. Brothers play for Virginia Tech.
Always have, always will. Jalen Stroman, 6'1". To me, I think he should be classified as an athlete at 190 out of Patriot High School, Nokesville. Composite 3-star, 247 has him 3, right on the verge of a 4. Obviously, younger brother of Hokie great NFL guy Greg Stroman. It's a hell of a land. In-state player, keeps the brotherhoods going. And Brian, you peeked his tape out. What are we getting in this guy?
All right, so the big thing that we're going to talk about with is his comparables. So he does not compare to Greg. He compares probably more to Terrell Edmonds than anybody else. He's a versatile guy. He's a guy that is a natural safety but can play corner in a pinch. He's a guy that can fly around but also lay a thumping on you. So, I think just that size coming out of high school, I think, as you said, composite 3-star, but he's a guy that's trending closer to a 4 if you look at the actual measurables, and potentially, a consensus 4. But I think some of the competition that he played in high school and things of that nature, some of the more rivals in the ESPN are not giving him quite the look that I think a 247 is. So I think that's probably one of the downsides of the composite ranking here, being a lot lower than what his 247 score is. I think ultimately 247, he's going to be kind of that tweener between a 3 and a 4. And that's probably where his actual skill level is. Like I said, he's a versatile player before you even talk about what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. So it's nice to have another brother, but it's also nice to get a guy like this. And again, another trend that we're seeing, man, versatile players on offense, versatile players in the secondary on defense.
Yep, you've mentioned it before, something Jay Ham, and it seems like that he's looking for is he wants guys that could possibly do multiple things, which to me, some people say, well, get the guy that can do this the best. Well, when you're bringing in the versatile guys with where we are on the depth, you figure out in the first year and a half, oh, you know what? Jalen looks like he could be a great rover, but on the other hand, hey, wait a minute. Man, he can press. He's got the body. Man, let's put him at corner and let him physical some guys up. So really like that. But hey, Brian, the Hokies weren't done, buddy.
No, they were not. So second on the list there, we got a few days later, Chance Black commitment.
Absolutely. Chance Black's out of a powerhouse down in South Carolina, Dorman. 3-star running back, but you look at his tape, he's like another one of your favorite guys that's on the current roster, Blackshear. He is a OW. He is an offensive weapon. A lot of folks kind of questioning, you see his speed, his versatility. How is he a 3-star? And I felt like I've read somewhere, and Brian, quote me if I'm wrong, but he hasn't went to many camps. He's kind of not out there, not promoting himself. He's just kind of like, I'm playing football. I'm going to go somewhere.
That's a big thing, and especially when you're talking about a rivals rating, that's going to be lower if they're not in those camps. Same with ESPN to a point. Also, ESPN is not. They don't update their rankings very often. So once you're kind of, pigeonholed, unless you see some really big ups in your offer list, you're probably not going to see a significant bump in your ranking. But yeah, looking at the tape, we're talking about a guy that looks similar to what Blackshear is bringing to us. Hopefully this year, once he gets that waiver, I mean, you got a guy that can catch the ball in space. He can run routes, but he's also good between the tackles. He can, make guys miss in the hole. He can make the linebacker miss and get to the next level. So these are all big things for us. And we're talking about a guy that can, make some plays. We'll probably use him some in the jet sweep game. Probably even early on in his career, even if he doesn't come out and have an every down role.
Yeah, I'm going to say the one thing, and I can't watch film like you. I don't have that eye. There are certain things I miss as just being a casual fan. But one thing that you do not miss on tape is this kid has some wheels, man. This guy has some speed. I'd love to see what he clocks. I'm guessing around in the 4.4. But what I noticed a lot was the cut. If you noticed, at least what I was noticing, again, it's not my trained eye, Brian, but they were running some of those side zone plays, and that's what I call them. They're like a zone read, but it's essentially he's staying parallel, and then as soon as the hole opens up, cut. And when you see him make that cut, he's not afraid of contact. Numerous times on his film, like there's a guy in front of him, he's like, all right, dude, boom. He does not shy away from that. When he sees his lane, he goes. So it tells me he's very, very, very good at reading the lanes, making decisions. And again, I'm still trying to figure out how he's a 3-star other than not going to camp and kind of keeping a low profile.
Yeah, and it looks like what you're talking about is something like an angle or an outside zone, so where the target is going to be a little bit wider than what you see with your inside zone, which is the common element of a zone read offense. So, I think what, like you're saying there, he's got the speed to get to the edge, but he can make you miss. He's got good wiggle, but he's got breakaway speed too. So I think, he's got all those skills. Whether he's able to do all of that at an elite level is yet to be seen, but you got to love the skill set that he's bringing in.
Absolutely. But Brian, we weren't done.
We were not done.
No, we weren't. Matthias Carroll, weak side DN out of Gilman. That's a
stretch.
Stretch. Gilman, pretty good high school football program up in Baltimore, Maryland. 6'3", 220. He commits Sunday. And I'm going to go ahead. I want to shout this guy out. Whoever did his video, that was crisp. And, this guy, again, 3-star guy. But you see the tape and you hear about some of the other things he does. I think he's a guy that could wind up a 4 if we play a season.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at the tape, I mean, he's really got some good things he's bringing to the table, and it's really going right along with some of the things we've seen TNT start to focus on. He's got both height and reach. He's quick off the ball. He's got the ability to bend and work leverage, which probably comes from the wrestling background that he has. And as soon as I hear wrestling background, I'm thinking great leverage and really good conditioning, and that's two things you like to see in a defensive end.
100%. I think you think leverage. I also think tackling. You think the way these guys, when they practice, and they're getting taught wrestling, you have to learn how to get the guy down right. I saw one of his video highlights. He literally flipped a guy. So, but again, he kind of has the whole. He's athletic. He's already got a good frame. He's already got a little weight on that frame. He can bend. He's a multi-sport athlete. You talk about the conditioning, where you feel if he even puts on 20 pounds with that wrestling background, it's not going to take him long to get in playing shape at 240 versus gaining that weight and then trying to figure out how to play with it, because essentially those guys have to cut weight like crazy and gain weight to make classes and stuff. 18 offers, Boston College, Louisville, Pitt, South Carolina, to name a few. But again, I'm seeing it more and more. Defensive ends, Brian, we're taking, nobody's under 6'2".
No.
So
we're going with length, and we're going with guys that have a quick first step off the ball, which kind of falls in line with what we've been talking about with kind of how we finished out the 2020 class and kind of where recruiting's been trending ever since then.
Absolutely, man. So 3 big pickups a few weeks ago. People were nervous. Oh, God, we're going to be in the 70s again. Oh, God, we're going to be at the bottom of the ACC again. Boop, boop, boop. 42 now, 43. We're creeping up with some very good prospects on the horizon that could potentially go the Hokies' way. All right.
Yeah, I mean, and the big thing, buddy, is that, when you look at recruiting, a lot of the people in front of us weren't just, based on the average score, weren't even ahead of us. Some of them were behind us, but they just had, volume. Volume helps, and we're getting volume now. So volume is definitely finally working in our favor here with getting 3 big pickups, back to back, especially coming on the heels of the Jalen Jones recruitment that happened just before our last episode. So pretty big stuff.
Very nice, and definitely trending upward. All right, hey, Brian, the boys are coming back to town, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Voluntary workouts can commence in Blacksburg.
End of this week, that's what's starting. Strength and conditioning. Looks like they are playing it very safe with small cohorts, following very stringent public guidelines. I don't think me, you, or any of our fans have probably any issues with that. And then what Mark Rogers said and again, makes common sense. The first and foremost priority is the health and welfare of the student athletes. But Brian, something happened today. I hope you caught it on the news. What's going to happen Friday?
I did not catch it. What's happening Friday, buddy?
We're going to phase 2.
Phase 2. All right.
So
everybody except for downtown RVA and Nova, right?
That's it. So that kind of tells me that areas like the locker room, more common areas, probably the workout facilities itself are probably going to be opening sooner rather than later. Because if you got to read the articles about what's going on, they're going to be doing these workouts in the Beamer Barn, which is a great thing to have. They can get the doors open, so you kind of have more of an open space than an indoor space to protect these kids. I'm sure they're going to be getting the tests. Talking about 25 to 30 guys coming back, which a lot of people are saying they think it's going to be the guys in Blacksburg. That makes sense. They're the easiest to access. They're the easiest to get the test, see if anybody has it. If so, quarantine them. And as the guys start coming back, get them the test. If you're clear, set a time frame for you to come on in.
Yep.
So I think getting the guys in the weight room is going to be quicker, is going to happen sooner rather than later. It's just kind of common sense.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a good thing for everyone involved. I know there's other schools that are working on similar timetables right now, whether it's a week ahead of us or a week behind us. I know pretty much no one was allowed until yesterday. June 1st was, I guess, the earliest that anyone could do anything based on what the NCAA had in place. But now that we're starting to open up some of these avenues for getting kids back in the weight room, I think most of it, at least initially, is going to be those voluntary type activities, and then we can maybe work towards some more organized or quasi-organized activities once we start getting more guys back on campus and the NCAA starts to evaluate what that's looking like. So
yeah, I think that's going to be the big piece. Is probably really over the next 3 weeks is how the schools come back, how the schools are doing it. And then I think what me and you've kind of stated, we've been kind of hinting around at, is I think you're going to see 2 separate training periods. I think you're going to have a period in July, 2 or 3 weeks, and then potentially either a 3-week fall camp or a full fall camp. I think they're going to open up some avenues to where it's going to be, I'm not going to say fair, but it's just going to be more, just smarter. Like, let the kids kind of build up to get there. They're normally working out all the time. They've been doing this independently, but not around their strength and conditioning coaches. Something else, and you talk about the different situations, and Coach Fuente made a great point about this thing. It's not a uniform situation. Every single place in every single campus, has different dynamics. There can be no one set way that it has to be done. And I think that's the truth. Because I'm sure there are some schools that are flying more kids in than others. So, but again, we've been talking about it. Signs are pointing to good things in the fall.
Yeah, and I think you want to set, kind of a benchmark, like a low end of like, this is what minimally has to happen. And then from within that, decide how you want to approach it, depending on your facilities and things that you can do on your own campus. But it's, like I said, it's just really good to finally get moving towards that. And as you stated about fall camp, I think it would be good to do like maybe a 15 or 16 day period with maybe 2 off days, where you're working on installation and strength and conditioning as an organized team, and then maybe having a week or 2 break and then rolling back into a 4-week fall camp before the season starts. That to me would be an ideal situation, because you could use those first 2 weeks for installation and kind of getting back into the swing of things before you start going, hammering at each other in pads and fall camp. So
let me ask this, Brian, honest assessment. If this happens this year, do you think there will be certain football programs that will push and say, hey, we think the beginning of July would be great for a 2-week mini camp along with spring practice? Do you think this will be something that's pushed at the NCAA? And again, how tough it would be for the NCAA to say no, when literally this is one of their biggest cash cows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's something that they could put forward. There's been a large push for, and I don't know why, because it doesn't really apply to a lot of other sports, but then there's been such a large push with football for kind of the months of June and July to be off limits, and the month of pretty much the whole month of December, unless you're in a bowl, being off limits for these football type activities, whether it's got to do with exams or wanting to provide some sort of buffer. But it would be nice to finally move towards, essentially the sport is year round anyway. Let's treat it like a year round sport.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. All right. Well, guys, what we're going to be doing today is just a little something different, more NCAA holistic than Hokie focused. A couple weeks ago, CBS Sports and their college football team put together a ranking of the top 65 coaches in Division I, along with Notre Dame. Coach Fuente is clearly on there. We're going to discuss him in just a moment here. We're going to talk about name the CBS Sports top 10, but then we're going to name ours, because clearly we don't agree with everything they say. So we're going to start out here with Coach Fuente's ranking. Brian, you saw it. I saw it. I'll go ahead and make the announcements. He was ranked 37.
Boo!
Okay, Brian, clearly there is something upsetting you here. It's upsetting me too, but since you're booing over there, what exactly, what do you think this man should be at?
All right. So, I mean, I'm not calling him a top 25 coach, coming off of the 2018 and 2019 seasons that we had. But my man has not fallen out of the top 30.
Okay.
I'm going to put him, I'd say 28, 29 would be a fair ranking. So he's about 8 to 10 positions lower than he should be, in my opinion.
All right. Okay. I'm with you. I think he's at 28. And you ready for it? I got the dissertation here.
All right, go for it. Bring it to me.
Here are the coaches that are currently ahead of him that have no damn business being ahead of him. Chip Kelly.
Clears through it.
Chip Kelly, 2 years at UCLA. You know what his record is, Brian?
Give it to me.
7-17.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, what he did at Oregon can't count anymore, or at least not count as much as it is right now.
All right, next. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. He's already left one D1 job. He got fired from another on a tarmac. And he doesn't have exactly the best reputation in the world. So how is he ranked ahead of a coach that is successful?
He can make a Sun Belt team kind of decent.
Interesting. All right, next. You ready?
Yeah.
I like the guy's a human being, good coach, rough start. Scott Frost. He's 9-15 with Nebraska. They had some players on that team, and I know he's installing his culture there, and he's in a pretty good conference. But 9-15, and you're going to put him ahead of our coach?
Yeah, that's the problem I have. I feel like those guys are getting way more benefit of the doubt for what they've done 5 years ago. Yet Fu is getting zero credit for what he's done in the whole 5 years he's been at Virginia Tech, plus what he did before that. They're pretty much saying, well, you had one really bad season and one really bad recruiting class. All right, we're dropping you.
True. All right, next, Herm. He's 15-11. He was 7-6 his first year, and he was 8-5 last year. Hold on. Not quite yet. I think Herm, maybe he's the one people want to argue with me, but he's not exactly lighting the world on fire.
To his credit, he's trending upwards, both in recruiting and with on the field product, but I don't think that denotes moving him to where he is on the list. I think we need to still operate a little more cautiously until he's shown he can prove himself as a coach at that level. I mean, he's still establishing his own culture and what he likes to do. And I don't know if you know this or not, but you play to win the game.
Love it, Brian. Love it. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Mike Norvell. He needs to prove it. You're putting him above a coach at the D1 P5 level that essentially has won games, and you're sticking him ahead because he went to Florida State. Come on. Mike Norvell is a good coach, and he's probably going to succeed pretty well at Florida State. But just to jump out of the gate and say, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to really have a great pedigree if you're moving to a Power 5 school and you don't have a Power 5 resume as a head coach. And I don't think his previous resume quite justifies the jump just because he got hired to a Power 5 job.
Yeah. He essentially, and to credit Mike Norvell, he essentially walked into what Justin Fuente had built at Memphis, and he did build upon it. I'll give him that credit, but you're going to a whole different ball game now. So
yeah.
I wouldn't mind him at like 35, but not ahead of Coach Fuente currently. All right, you ready for the next one? And this is one of my favorites. Tom Herman at Texas. With all that bleeping talent, all that talent he's had, he is averaging the same number of wins our head coach is. How? He's had one 10-win season. Wait a second. Coach Fuente's had one 10-win season. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's some sort of curve here where if you coach for a blue blood program, by default that makes you at least 5 positions higher than what your actual ranking should be.
All right. Next, Bronco Mendenhall. He has been
that's the controversial one that I think people are going to be talking about a little bit more.
Well, here's where it pisses me off. He has played Fuente like 6 times. He's beat him once. And literally, he needed the greatest single performance in the UVA school history to do this. And it's not even questionable if you look at Bryce Perkins' performance in that game. That was the greatest single performance of any player. And you put him above, and it's like, y'all, if we look at these two teams, yes, UVA was in shambles. But okay, how do you put him above a guy he can't beat without an unreal performance?
Yeah, and I mean, when we're talking about the big picture, we're still talking about consistently Virginia Tech out recruits UVA. Consistently, Virginia Tech has beaten a Bronco coached UVA team relative to a Fuente coached Virginia Tech team. So at some point that has to matter. It's like we're glossing over everything else because of recency bias.
Yeah, recency bias. Oh man. All right. The last two I have. I love Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. He's won games there, but no coach in the top 25 should have a 3-9 season. I love the guy. He's a hell of a coach, but a coach in the top 25, go look at all the other guys there, Brian. Nobody's ever had a 3-9 season this far into their tenure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. You can't. I don't have a problem with dipping to maybe like a 5-win or even maybe a 4-win if you had some really bad injuries on a year that you were already predicted to kind of be rebuilding anyway. But, Virginia Tech most years can, just line up and get 3 wins without even really putting forth an effort. So it's really hard to go out and say 3 wins is impressive no matter who you're playing.
100%. All right, and the last one, and this one just really irks the crap out of me. Mac Brown, who went from – hold on. First of all, he was ranked 42 last year. He is now top 20 with a 7-6 record. What? Like, I'd understand if you want to put him at 30 because he did do a very impressive performance, but also similar to Scott Satterfield, who I do admire, he essentially got to take over a team that had quit. If you have some motivation for some guys, you can get them to play hard, and they do have some talent in Carolina, you can win. To say a guy's going to jump 22 spots to the top 20 with a 7-6 record?
Yeah, I mean, other than the recruiting that we'll talk about, I'm sure a little bit more at some other point. I mean, what has Mac done in the time he's been there that Fedora wasn't already doing before he lost the locker room?
Exactly, 100%, and that was the key. He lost the locker room, and here's the one thing that I'll say again: it's recency bias for you. What Coach Fuente had to do is come in after a legend, and a legend that hadn't lost the locker room. Essentially, Frank just kind of lost his fastball, right?
Yeah.
He comes in and he starts winning 19 games his first 2 years. He has that dip the third year to 6. And then, yes, the Duke game happened. But I have a question, Brian, and this is why I do put Fuente about 28, right on the cusp of the top 25. How many coaches below him or above him could go 2-2 in the crap that happened to that Duke game, and then you win 6 more games, and you lose 3 literally on the last possession of each of those games? How many coaches?
It's true, man. It's true. It's very few that could really turn that around. And, you can credit or apply the credit to whoever you want to, but at some point, Fuente was the man at the top that was making those decisions, whether you give more credit to, Jerry Kill coming in or whether you give some adjustments to the way the offensive play calling was done after that, especially with placing Hooker in the starting lineup. Whatever you attribute it to, it still goes back to the man at the top making the call. So at some point, he has to get some credit for that.
100%. All right, so let's move on, Brian. Let's actually go through CBS Sports Top 10. Just going to name them. You can, if you want to make a comment, more than welcome to, because after we do that top 10, we're going to go back and forth with ours. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, maybe some controversy, maybe some other things. All right, so let's start. Number 10, Ryan Day at Ohio State.
It's not horrible based on recruiting and winning, but because of how great they recruit, I just don't know how great of a coach Ryan Day is yet. I'd like to see what he does with, it won't happen, but I'd like to see what he would do with less talent.
Gotcha.
All right.
So a couple of these guys, I think me and you might be talking about Penn State with James Franklin.
Yep.
All right. 8 is Florida with Dan Mullen. Number 7, and this is one, to me, I wouldn't put this guy in the top 20 right now. Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M. That dude literally burnt down Florida State before he left it. And I think, unfortunately, Willie Taggart was not the type of coach to pick up those type pieces. No. And then he goes to Texas A&M, and he's done okay, but it ain't like he's in there winning 10, 11 games, knocking off Nick, knocking off Coach O.
No, I mean, he's had a slight uptick in recruiting relative to his predecessor, and they're giving him a lot of credit for the fact that he won a natty at Florida State in 2013.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
All right. Number 6 is Kirby Smart at Georgia. Nothing to say with that. No. Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. Coach O, number 4. I got to try it. Lincoln Riley, 3 at Oklahoma. Dabo's number 2 at Clemson, and number 1, Nick Saban, Alabama.
Top two should be no secret here to most of our listeners, I would imagine.
Well, let's hope not. Top two for us, I have a feeling may not be any different. So, well, Brian, since I made that announcement, sir, I'm going to let you begin this with your number 10 coach.
All right, I'm going to lead off. I don't think he's in your top 10, but he's in mine. I kept Brian Kelly in the top 10. He's just made the cut there. Biggest thing is, I mean, he played for a national championship, had his team in a national championship when with Notre Dame. 243, 93, and 2 record as a head coach. He's had 2 AP Coach of the Year awards, 3 conference titles, and I still think, you know, they get good recruits, but I think he also the product that's on the field, they do play pretty much on par, if not slightly below what they recruit every year. So it's not like some of those other blue bloods where you see, you know, a discrepancy between the recruiting ranking and the output, or like some of the other blue bloods that just are talent factories that just have recruit after recruit after recruit. They're not quite there anymore, but they're so consistent with their product. That's why I put him in there.
Got it. All right. My number 10 is probably going to be the biggest jumper. This guy was in the low 30s. But Dave Clawson, total record is 126 and 119. Not the most impressive, but he's coached. Here's the places he's coached, Brian. These places really kind of don't care about sports in a way. He's coached at Fordham, University of Richmond, Bowling Green, and Wake Forest. He has won at every single one of those stops. And I think that's why I have to put him so high. He essentially has never got the opportunity to coach essentially even a high, like a mid-level tier 1 program, but the guy just wins, and he pulls upsets, and he beats people. And at Richmond, he's essentially created the team that won Mike London his national championship. And at Wake last year, he won 8 games at Wake. I mean, I see that guy and say, I could go put that guy on a field of a bunch of 2- and 1-star guys in any Power 5 conference, and I guarantee you within a few years he'd produce.
If you gave him a consistent top 25 recruiting class every year, he could do some damage.
True. Now, let me go back to your Brian Kelly point. Brian's just on the outside of me. I think Brian's hit a ceiling. I also think the one thing about Brian, he is kind of slow to make changes. And I think with the head coach, the one thing that can put these guys in the top 10 is not being afraid. And he's made a few changes over the last few years, but I think a couple of them are too late because I think he missed a big window. All right, do you want me to do number 9, or should you lead again, sir?
I'll let you lead this time. What you got?
All right, man. So I think this guy's on your list, so I'll let you give the win-loss record a little later. But, dude, I love Dan Mullen down in Florida. And it's not only you talk about his offensive prowess when he was with Florida under Urban, but then, dude, how he molded Mississippi State to compete, not just play, compete in the SEC West with the talent he was getting there. That deserves an absolute tip of the cap. And then how quick he got to Florida. That program was kind of burning after Jim McElwain left. He flipped it around, a 10-win season and then an 11-win season, competing quickly, you know, fought with Georgia, beat LSU a couple years ago, fought LSU down in Baton Rouge, I believe, this year and damn near got them. But he just can coach, whether it's the top talent or it's the tier below talent. You play a Dan Mullen team, you better be prepared because that's the type of coach he is.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you said you thought I had him in the top 10. He was actually just missed my top 10. I was fighting between him and Brian Kelly.
All right.
So,
well, okay.
And the only knock I have on him is that, you know, he's doing great things at Florida, but he's doing it, you know, with Florida rich talent, getting the best recruits, you know, from that area. They are the ace school right now, especially with Florida State being down and Miami being middling at best. So they are raking in the recruits down there, and I think that's definitely playing into a factor. that may have shaded me as far as whether to put him or Brian Kelly in at 10, but that's where I went. So my 9 is actually exactly what CBS has, James Franklin. And
all right. So you must have done some research after the draft episode, because you were kind of lower on him, and I told you I was higher on him. So did you do some digging? You get a little digging?
Yeah. So the big thing that I looked at what he did at Vandy.
Okay.
And that actually impressed me more because I knew he had some good teams at Vandy. I didn't realize that they were bowl eligible in the SEC every year he coached there. And he was going toe to toe. I looked at some of the individual games, going toe to toe with some of the big dogs, with severely lower, talent at that point. And he's shown that he can be an ace recruiter now that he's gotten some of the, the money behind him now that he's at Penn State. So I think, you put those two things together, he can coach, and now he can recruit. Now, at times he comes off either sleazy or cheesy. All the easy words, he rhymes with those, but and he could potentially take a step off this list if he doesn't start getting some big wins against, the Ohio States of the world. But because he is starting to get the recruits that aren't stacking up against OSU, but relative to what I think he is as a coach, he should start being able to put them down from time to time. So I'd like to see them do that with more consistency, or I might have to move him down. But for now, 9.
Got it. And he is he's right outside for me too. And it's the big thing is he hasn't gotten the big wins. I know he's beat Ohio State and he's beat them once, but it's not consistent. But the other piece, what I think where you talk about him becoming an ace recruiter, is I think he's kind of overlooking dogs. And I think you got to still have dogs. And I think that's why I put him just outside, because I think stars matter to him a little more now. And and there could be some guy where he used to be like, oh, yeah, give me that guy. He's a football player, where it's like, I'll take the 4-star. He's a little more athletic. All right. So number 8, Brian, lead the way, sir.
All right. Number 8, I've got Kirby Smart.
All right. He is on my list.
44 and 12 as a head coach. So he's, smaller sample size than most of the guys that I'm going to have on my list here. But, he was defensive coordinator when Bama became what Bama is, and he's shown aptitude as a head coach. They have been consistently competing for an SEC championship since he's been the head coach at Georgia. And, he made a big run in the college football playoff. I mean, not many schools can say that. It's been such a limited club outside of Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama that any team that can make a deep run like that, you got to give them some respect. He does struggle a lot in big games, especially against, really high caliber competition like a Clemson or a Bama. But I've liked what he's doing, and I like the trajectory that team's on.
Awesome. I've got him a little higher on my list, and I'll hit a few other points on that in a few minutes. I got number 8. I got PJ Fleck. And, people can make fun of his row the boat, the way he dresses, some of the things he says, how he speaks. But, man, all that guy does is take programs and flip them from losing to winning really fast. He did it at Western Michigan. He's done it at Minnesota. He's starting to recruit better at Minnesota. And, Brian, when I take a look at this guy, and you talk about records, he's coached at Western Michigan and he's coached at Minnesota. They ain't the two biggest programs in the world. He's 53 and 37. That's pretty impressive, and that's counting an 11 loss in his first year at Western Michigan when they were a dumpster fire. PJ Fleck actually played in the NFL a couple of years. He was actually on the 49ers. I have Madden 06. He's on that game. It's pretty funny. But
Homer.
I think that guy understands how to build a culture. Another question for me is with Fleck, is Minnesota it? Does he choose to stay there and build it, knowing that what he's doing right now, if he does for the next 10 years, he never has to worry about another job a day in his life? Or is there bigger fields out there? So PJ Fleck at number 8 for me.
All right. Well, I guess I'll let you go with your 7 then.
Yep. Number 7, Kyle Whittingham with the Utah Utes, man. Mr. Consistent. He has built Utah into a consistent Pac-12 contender since they essentially were taken in there. Was so close last year, so close to potentially breaking through the playoff wall. His teams, they are not flashy. A lot of running the ball. He has sort of adapted the last few years to running a little bit more spread. But his defenses, man, you better be ready to play them because they are going to hit you, and they're going to hit you hard. So be prepped on that. And I just think he's been doing it so long. He's only had like 3 bad seasons in close to 15 years of coaching. So that's why I put him at number 7.
Okay. I'm going a little bit of a different route, but kind of the same idea at my 7. I'm going Paul Chryst.
All right.
71-35 as a head coach. 2-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. The man has never missed a bowl since he's become a head coach. And the big thing for me is that he is the classic example, and similar to Frank in a lot of ways, especially peak Frank, not like really overplaying relative to the talent on your team. So, you look at him and he's still on an upward trajectory right now, which is the big thing for me. So 10 wins, he's had 10 wins 4 of the last 5 seasons. And, this is a guy that is a lifer at Madison, Wisconsin. So, I think that's a big thing because he knows the culture and he knows how to build off of it.
Absolutely. I'll add a few more things on Paul Chryst in a little while. He's a little bit higher for me, Brian. All right, who you got for number 6?
All right, number 6, GP, Gary Patterson.
Woo! All right, you brought Gary way up. Gary was like at the back end of the teens for CBS. Go, what you got on Gary, man? Love Gary.
All right, so 172-70 as a head coach. When we think about tenure, him and Ferentz are the only 2 guys that have been at the same place since 2000. So he took over at TCU in 2000.
Wow.
And he's the model of consistency, man. I mean, he's only missed a bowl 3 years in the 20 that he's been coaching as a head coach. And he's third or fourth on the totem pole in terms of recruiting the state talent. But he's consistently playing with or ahead of those other teams.
Texas,
A&M. I mean, A&M's really the only one that's consistently been ahead of them. And sometimes, they've clipped them down. Baylor's been up and down here and there, but TCU has been the model of consistency. They're consistently, second or third in that conference if they're not winning it. So you're not going to look at them and see them in the 5th or 6th slot most years.
Absolutely. A couple years ago, remember Oklahoma, or TCU got Oklahoma, then Oklahoma got them back in that championship game. My number 6, man, he's a little lower on your list, he's a little higher on my list, Kirby Smart. He's at his alma mater, so there's a feeling that Kirby's going to be there a long, long time. And he took that was a very good program under Mark Richt. And he's taken them, you mentioned it, he's taken them to an elite power program pretty quick. It wasn't like a 5 or 6 year. It literally was one okay year, boom. To me, that kind of is a testament to the type of coach he is. He's a damn good recruiter. He's a damn good defensive mind. And this year, we sort of saw him take a step in the offseason, in my opinion. He made some changes on that offense, and he went out and got Jamie Newman. I think we're going to see a slightly different Georgia offense this year, where I give credit to the head coach understanding the Saban model from 10 years ago isn't working to beat the elite teams anymore. You've got to mix it up offensively. So I give him credit for that, man. All right. Is it my turn?
It's your turn. Yeah, you're gonna take the next one.
I got number 5. Give me Coach O down on the Bible. Man, if you've ever read and heard stories, people always revel about how Coach O is on the recruiting trail. He's just one of those guys that, families, kids, they're just drawn to. His first tenure down at Ole Miss was just not good at all. But to the kind of guy, and you can kind of see it with how he coaches. You see him always running. They always show those pictures of him running around LSU's campus. He kept grinding, and he kept grinding. And I kind of wonder a few years ago if USC, when they put him that interim label, if they felt like they missed. But I also sit here and think, I think Coach O, he went home, and he is a perfect culture fit down in the state of Louisiana, down in the South. He also kind of realized last couple years, similar to what Kirby's doing, I got to change some things on offense. And he did it last year, brought in Joe Brady. Good Lord, that was a hell of an offense. So I got Coach O 5 right now.
All right. Well, I'm going to do a repeat of what you did a little bit earlier for my number 5. I've got Kyle Whittingham at number 5.
Oh, okay.
And I've got him record 131-63.
That's so impressive at Utah.
Yes, it is.
So impressive.
So he's only missed 2 bowls in 15 years. And much like I was, harping on Gary Patterson, they, moved from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, just like they moved, Mountain West to the Big 12.
Yeah.
Never missed a beat. Not exactly located in what you would call a recruiting hotbed.
No.
Now Utah does overachieve relative to some of their, recruiting rankings in terms of the talent that comes out of that state. But you wouldn't necessarily call Utah a recruiting hotbed. So definitely they overachieve in that spot. And, this is a guy that spent most of his life coaching in Utah. So he knows the lay of the land and he knows how to find those diamonds in the rough. So I think he does a really good job with that. And he's also another coach that, hyping this up a lot, but does a lot with a little. I mean, there's not a whole lot that's attracting kids to play in Utah, but yet he's still out there getting it done. And he's, of late seeing an upward trajectory, even relative to his success, in those 15 years. So
absolutely,
you gotta love it.
Dude, love Coach Whittingham, and I think he's there, and I don't think Utah's ever going to let him go because you have that consistency. You just ride it, man. All right, Brian, who's your number 4?
All right, number 4, we got this is going to be the smallest resume, but probably the highest winning percentage we have on the list. Lincoln Riley.
All right. Hey, guess
36-6.
We match on this one. Lincoln Riley's my 4.
Okay. So what I like to call Lincoln Riley, we're going to call him the quarterback whisperer.
Oh, okay.
All right. So this man's coached 3 years. He coached Baker, Kyler, and Jalen. They've all been drafted.
Yes, they have.
2 of them were drafted where, Curtis?
1-1.
Yeah. That's a big deal. That's a very big deal. And he's molded them into a regular season force. They've lost 3 games in the regular season in his tenure. And they can really score some points, as evidenced by, the way they run up the scores on a lot of those Big 12 defenses. And they're great at getting the most out of that offensive talent. They really do a good job of getting the ball to their playmakers and letting them make plays. It is imperative that he gets better against elite competition because they've made the playoffs 3 years, but they've lost all 3 years in the first round. So he needs to have some success against those high caliber teams like Clemson, Ohio State, and Bama.
Yep.
But I think that he can take the next step if he keeps going. This is a Mike Leach disciple, so you know that they're all about the offense and getting points on the board. So I'd like to see what he can do next. But right now I've got him at 4 based on those first dynamic 3 years he's had.
Absolutely. I'm with you, man. He's probably the most innovative offensive mind in the college football game right now. Also, he was stepping into some big shoes when Bob Stoops abruptly kind of retired, and then Lincoln was named, head coach. Because that was, remember, it wasn't like directly after. It was actually after. It was around spring when it happened, and it was just kind of like, oh, who's this young kid? Yeah, he's a really good OC, but, man, Bob Stoops won a national championship, played for a few more. This is going to be – this could be bad. But he didn't. He continued to excel, and he's actually built on what Bob created there at Oklahoma in the early 2000s when they had been down for quite some time since Switzer in the 80s. But you make a couple points. You talk about the big games. He's got to get a comparable defense. If he gets one, watch out. But I also think he's got to grow. There are some games where they are up, 2-3 touchdowns, and instead of where you sit there, hey, dude, gear it down a little bit. Gear it down, make that other defense work. And you see them quickly screw up, go 3 and out, and they let that other team back in. Or they can't stop the run. I remember sitting here watching the Kansas State game in the cave last year, and Kansas State literally ran through them like a hot knife through butter. Just like, we're going to run, touchdown, stop us. But what that tells me is with him, he's so focused on his offense. It's probably why he's not 3 for me versus being 4 is he's got to learn that you're not just an offensive coach anymore. You are the head coach. Give him credit. He hired Alex Grinch, hell of a defensive coordinator. But is he going to take those steps when he's up 34-17, early third to, hey, let's make this a 7-minute drive instead of scoring in 3 plays?
You got to have a middle gear. Even when you're a tempo offense, you got to have a middle gear where you can say, okay, well, I don't need to use the whole clock, but I need to use a lot of it.
Yep.
And I need to start taking my time a little bit more. Sure, go tempo when you get a big play, when you feel like you got them on their heels, but don't just go fast just to go fast.
Absolutely. All right, so we're in the top 3 here, Brian. I will do my number 3, sort of the shocker for some people probably. Dude, I got Paul Chryst, man. You've already mentioned some of the stuff he's done earlier, and people are probably going to say that's really high for him. But the comparative talent he gets versus where he has to go against your Michigans, against Ohio States, against Penn States, and how he's done, I mean, it's insane. There is a huge talent disparity, but he competes with those guys. And if you remember the Big Ten championship last year, they came square out and punched Ohio State directly in the mouth. Ohio State came back and won. But watching the first half of that game, you kind of thought, holy crap, are they going to do this? They
were reeling. They had to really gear up and figure out what Wisconsin was doing in order to overcome that.
Oh, absolutely. And then you said it earlier, Paul is essentially a culture fit there. He's probably never going anywhere else. He played quarterback for the Badgers in the 1980s. As I think if it wasn't right before, it was right after Barry Alvarez took over and sort of started molding that program into one of those programs of the last 25 years that really was built. And the big thing for him, if he ever gets just slightly more talent, I think Paul Chryst, you get him a couple top 15 recruiting classes with Jim Leonard as a defensive coordinator, man. Ohio State, Michigan, and freaking Penn State better hold their pants. Because, Chryst is one of those guys. Remember the Miami game? And he freaking ran the damn score up down in South Beach?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he cares. And I think he kind of likes it when some of those flashy big teams, he gets to put it on them.
And he's always going to bring that hard-nosed attacking style with the running game. So, I mean, that they're going to be bringing that element to the game, and they're not going to step off of that.
Nope.
Just because the game's out of hand. They're gonna keep coming at you.
Absolutely. All right, who's your 3?
3, Big O.
Oh,
Ed Orgeron.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go Tigers. Anyway, 56-36 record, so not the most flashy record for the guys that are in the top 10 here. But what I'm going to point to is kind of the success story of his head coaching trajectory here. So completely failing at Ole Miss. Completely. He tried to implement that USC style offense, and it wasn't happening, and they weren't stout enough on defense to overcome those offensive shortcomings, even with some of the talent they had. Two stints as a interim head coach with success both times, 6-2, 6-2. And I'm going to answer the question for you. USC is absolutely kicking themselves for not hiring him as head coach after that success as interim. You got a chance at LSU after that second 6-2 stint as an interim, and LSU has reaped the benefits. He's been 34-7 since he's took over in the last 3 years, and he's a coach that's really looked at himself in the mirror as he's been going along, and made changes to his approach and made changes to his staff in order to attain the success that he wanted. And say what you will, but I mean, he's a likable guy.
Yes,
I mean,
he is.
I don't think there's anybody that is more affable as a head coach in terms of being both, someone you feel like you can have a beer with and be affable, but also a guy that really knows his shit.
Yep.
There's really not another model for that other than Ed Orgeron at this point.
Got you. Yep. All right, man. Well, we have kind of reached the summit here. So our top two, and I will let you lead number 2, sir.
Again, this is probably no surprise to folks here, but at 2, I've got Dabo Swinney.
Same.
So 130-31 record. He's got obviously 2 national titles at this point, 6 ACC titles, and 3-time recipient of the Bear Bryant Award. He took Clemson from a middling team to a perennial challenger for the ACC and then perennial challenger for the national title. Earlier in his career, he couldn't get over the hump, but he's shown that he can be adaptable both in how he approaches offense and defense. And he's great on the recruiting trail. They consistently end up, pulling in, top 5 classes, and that's really been a sticking point. But the big thing is his ability to rally the support for the team around his vision. And that's what's really, I think, separated what he's done in the ACC versus where kind of everybody else is a giant step behind them.
Yeah.
From the financial alignment and from the physical perspective that fan base carries, both from their traveling and just, the pride they show in their team. They become a national brand because of that.
They absolutely are, man. And I'm going to say a couple things. First of all, a lot can be said about Dabo, but you cannot deny, you kind of mentioned it. He kind of took an affable program that had some history, could always get some talent, always kind of competitive, and he just found some in the dirt there down in Clemson. You mentioned about the financial piece, and everybody's probably heard the story. Before Dabo got into coaching, he was essentially in corporate, in commercial real estate. So when you hear talk about that money and how he do it, if he's doing commercial real estate, I think he probably saw how corporations were probably handling their assets. And he probably went down to Clemson, kind of like me and you talked about me in the corporate world. And he said, you see that stadium over there? We hit that rock, we come down that hill, there's 80,000 people. That's how we bleep and make money. You're going to give me all the money. Because if you do, we're going to create something. And he did create something. And in my opinion, he's created a second Death Star in college football because of where they're located, down in the South, but can kind of recruit nationally. They got a very good school there, small town. He's putting guys into pros, man.
Yeah,
and
you got the combination of the academics and the the NFL stature that they have now. That's a big 1-2 punch.
And one other piece, you talk about him getting good recruits, but only a couple times has he gotten the top class. Because I think the one thing he does that James Franklin needs to think about, he still goes out and gets some of those 2- and 3-star dogs, guys he sees that are just fighting for every inch, and he puts them on the team and almost kind of treats them the same as he does everybody else, where it's, I have the 2-star, I have the walk-on guy. Oh, he's the same as you, 5-star. So consensus number 2.
There we go.
Dabo Swinney.
Are you gonna lead with the 1?
All right, I'll lead, man. I mean, there's nobody else we've mentioned, so it's kind of tough. It's Nick Saban, and there's not even a question. You can love him, you can hate him, but you better respect him because this man can coach football. Nick has coached college football 24 years, Brian, between Toledo, Michigan State, LSU, and Alabama. He has won at every stop. He has 6 national titles. But the one thing I give him credit for more than anything is, especially over the last 10 years, he has learned how to adapt. You know he knows how to coach. He knows how to recruit. He's got to fire, but you know that man is cerebral. In my opinion, he's a top 5 all-time head coach. But the one other piece that I think that sometimes might get overlooked with Nick is he kind of had to reinvent himself after what happened in Miami. And he reinvented himself really to go back to more of the coaching, because although every Bama player that gets drafted doesn't become a superstar, you don't find many of them that flame out. They're usually consistently good players. And I think that kind of tells me that when he went back to the college game, it was, I'm going to teach these guys how to play football. So when they walk in the NFL locker room, even if they aren't the star, they're going to be on a squad 5 or 6 years.
I've got him at 1 as well. We're consensus on 2 and 1 here. Record-wise, 243, 65 and 1. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. 24 years of head coaching.
That's ridiculous. 8 SEC championships in 20 years. 2 Walter Camp trophies. 4-time SEC Coach of the Year. I mean, at this point, he became like LeBron and MJ were, where they just got tired of giving him the trophy every year. So they're like, well, got to give it to somebody else for now, because, you know, they've won it 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row and stuff like that. So I'm honestly surprised how long he stayed at Bama after. And it goes back to the reinvention point that you were talking about, is that he wasn't really at any stop for longer than 4 years before this current stint at Alabama. And I think, like I said, it goes along with what you're saying about the reinventing. He's definitely changed his approach to the game. I think he really wants to build a program where it's about guys that end up having success after they leave Alabama. I think winning has been a byproduct of that, but he's trying to get the best guys in-house and coach them up so they can have success at the next level. Now, ultimately, that sometimes stung him because, you know, you've got a talented roster of guys that want to play and they can't all play at the same time.
Yep.
But sometimes that happens. But the thing that has always impressed me, and Curtis, we've talked about it a bunch of times, especially before the playoff was put into place. When he's got more than 10 days to prepare for you,
oh Lord,
he is damn near unbeatable.
He is unbeatable. It's not even a joke, man.
I mean,
it's crazy, because you see he has all your little tricks and everything figured out when that happens. I mean, it's wild. And, you know, being Virginia Tech fans, since he's been at Bama, we've seen him opening weekend twice. And, man, you know, 2009 we had him, but he got us in the end. 2012, when we were not as talented, you could tell, you know, he was prepped for what we were going to do. It's kind of unfathomable that, again, that's why I put about he's fiery. You see him scream at the sideline. He gets mad, but he's cerebral. And when he has a chance to look at what he can do to you over the course of a few weeks, he's going to figure it out. So on the other side, you better bring your A+, because he's going to bring his, and his boys are going to execute, and you're probably not going to win.
Can we also talk about, would any other head coach have had the balls to put Tua in that national championship game?
No. But he's been safe.
I can't think of any coach that would have had the balls to do that.
And he's got the capital. You going to question him?
It's true.
Don't question him. Awesome. All right, so guys, long episode here. I don't think me and you expected it to be over an hour, man. But
no, we ended up we put in some time there, buddy.
Well, you know, it's a lot of fun. You talk about where we have our coach ranked, then we look at the top 10, and we're talking about the attributes we see there. It's a lot of fun to do something like this. So guys, what we're going to ask you is have fun tomorrow when we have fun today when we drop this. Who are your top 10 current and NCAA football coaches? You know, we'll post ours out there. I'm sure I'll get flack for 10 in a heartbeat from a few people, but you know, it is what it is. So, who's the top 10 NCAA football coaches going into 2020? Tweet at us that. Brian, I think this is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast.
Yes, sir.
I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Subscribe for the podcast on your favorite source, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We always let our buddy Jason Long play us in, play us out. Catch him on Spotify and Apple Music. Thanks for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies!